Chris Parker, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. You're from Obsidian Entertainment and you're working on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Alors, let's talk about this sequel. It's going to be published by LucasArts, obviously. What can be told about the storyline? How does it take off?
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is set about 5 years after the events in Knights of the Old Republic. And basically what's revealed to you very early on in the story is that your character, a Jedi, lost their connection with the Force many years ago during the Mandalorian War. You're coming back from the Outer Rim and trying to sort of uncover all of the things that have taken place in the last 5 years since the end of Knights of the Old Republic. And what you find out is that that war was really devastating for both the Sith and the Jedi. And but the Sith have actually found a little bit more of a way to take advantage of it, and they currently have assassins all over the galaxy hunting down the last of the Jedi. And so this is really where you start the story.
What can be told about the Sith? Because they are very important in this sequel.
Well, the Sith are very evil, of course, and there's a number of very powerful Sith who are warring for the title of Sith Lord. And they're the ones who have really tried to exterminate the Jedi from the galaxy, like I said, at the point where you start the story.
The previous game was a huge success for LucasArts. Obsidian Entertainment is doing the sequel. What are you going to do different than the previous game?
Well, our development focus has really been on creating a new story and expanding the galaxy, creating new characters, items, experiences for the player, really trying to capitalize on all the things that were done so well in Knights of the Old Republic. We also have a huge list of minor modifications that we're making to the game, optimizations, and those kind of go all over the board, from ways to improve minigames to various things in the interface that we're tweaking, to just trying to generally improve the frame rate and add new graphical effects for force powers and stuff.
Where it will be possible to adventure in the galaxy?
You're going to go to 7 different planets in Knights of the Old Republic 2. One of those, for example, is Telos, which is a planet that was mentioned in Knights of the Old Republic, but you didn't actually get to go there in Knights of the Old Republic. It was actually Karth's homeworld, and it was bombed in that game. So now, 5 years later, there's this restoration process going on there, led by Ithorians, and you actually wind up going to the planet now and seeing all of the things that have transpired since Knights of the Old Republic 1 ended.
What can be told about the character development system? We're still going to be able to be a good Jedi or a bad Jedi, right?
Absolutely. All the decisions that you make in the game are going to ultimately affect whether you go towards the light side or towards the dark side. And not only that, you'll be able to actually sort of sway the companions that you have in your party in one direction or the other as well. Some of them will be very resistant, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with your actions if they don't agree with them. But other ones will be able to be swayed completely from one side to the other. Now, all of these decisions will be made while you're leveling up and becoming more powerful. And so when you start the game, you'll be a Jedi, and then partway through the game, you'll be able to specialize your Jedi class. And at that point in time, you could actually pick a Sith class if you're very dark side, or a Jedi class if you're very light side, and continue to further customize your character.
Being a Jedi, we're going to have some force powers. What can be told about these new powers?
There's going to be over 60 new feats and force powers in the game, and they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Some of them are passive and just sort of help you out in very non-direct ways. Some are obviously combat powers, very direct. So, for example, Force Crush is a dark side power. You just use, dark side anger to suspend an opponent up in the air and then crush them with the dark side of the Force. But another example would be Force Sight, which allows you to see through doors by seeing the life energy of creatures, and it lets you actually read their aura also. So if they're extremely light side, they'll show up as having a glowing blue aura, whereas if they're dark side, they would have a very dark red aura.
And finally, what can be told about the combat system? Has it been tweaked a little?
The combat system has been tweaked, but we've sort of taken the approach that if it's not broke, don't fix it. So there have been a number of things like we've added to the system where we've tried to make it a little bit more detailed, a little bit more strategic, add new feats and force powers, as I mentioned. But the core mechanic of the game, how you play, how you do combat, it's going to be the same as how it was in Knights of the Old Republic.
Thank you very much, Chris, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you very much, and may the Force be with you.